Almost there, y'all. Almost there. Almost there, y'all. Almost there. It always happens. Okay, we are live. Hey, y'all. I'm Dr. Tiara Moore, founder and CEO of Black and Marine Science. Hopefully, you are enjoying Black and Marine Science Week, but also, hopefully, you just enjoyed that very powerful keynote. Pursuing the unknown, assessing marine science with no guidance, barriers, or accessibility. And so now we are going to be having a Q&A. So hopefully you brought all your questions after with you after you just watched that inspiring keynote. And so that Q&A is going to be moderated by Tokea Payton. So Kia is currently a PhD student in the Biological Sciences Department at Clemson University. In the Conservation of Marine Resources Lab, directed by Dr. Michael Childress. Her research focuses on the impact of marine debris and debris removal on the coral reef community in the Florida Keys. She holds bachelor's degrees in marine biology and environmental science with a minor in chemistry and a master's degree in marine biology. She has worked with several environmental entities, holding positions as a marine science educator, education coordinator, and scuba professional. So definitely put any questions that you have in the chat and we will be answering them live now. I'll pass it to you, Kia.
All right, thank you. And welcome to Black and Marine Science Week 2. I'm Kia Payton, and today's keynote speaker was Zandile, which was awesome. I was blown away. I wasn't even expecting that. I have a lot of questions, but I will save them. I put a quick bio together, but if I'm missing anything, please, chime in here and there. But Zandile, also known as the Black Mermaid, became South Africa's first Black African freediving instructor. She says the ocean is the only place she's felt a sense of belonging, which I can definitely relate to. And that she has become more and more involved, and that as she's become more and more involved in scuba diving and freediving, she's noticed that she rarely saw anyone that looked like her. And in order to empower Black divers, she created the Black Mermaid Foundation. This foundation organizes ocean exploration programs for Black children across the country, many of whom have never seen the ocean. She says the foundation's work is continuously taking kids out into the water and changing the stereotypes and the narratives that are attached to the ocean for us growing up. Zandile is a freediver, scuba diver, ocean lover, digital creator, activist, and so much more. So with that background, and I'm sure there's much more that I could have said about that, I'm going to turn it over and see if anybody has any questions for her.
Thank you so much, Kia. That was lovely.
Thank you. Well, I don't see any questions just yet. So I'm going to start this off and ask, how can people get involved or support your work?
This is actually such a stunning question. Thank you so much. What we've been trying to do is update the website so that people are able to rally and come on board and assist us financially, because at the moment, the foundation is fully self-funded. And so we are looking to get donors on board, get people who are willing to support the foundation. Scuba Pro has come on board and has assisted us with gear, so we don't have to hire gear anymore, which is such a big cost every single week. So that is already a very big win. And yeah, we're just looking to see if we can get more partners on board so that we have more continuity. Yeah.
Awesome. And so that begs two different questions for me. One, you mentioned in the recording about privilege and how in the marine environment and marine science and even recreationally, it's for those who are able to pay for dive gear, for those who are able to pay for a boat charter. They're the ones who are able to explore that environment. So it's interesting that Scuba Pro is, I guess, sponsoring you guys, which is awesome. But what other ways have you guys been able to make that more accessible?
So what is amazing about Cape Town is that there are many shore entry ways. So we will then do a shore entry and we go snorkeling, which is amazing because we already see lots of life in the shallows. I think, at the end of the day, we recognize that to see the bigger life, the more majestic life, often you have to go out a bit further. But I think, Scuba Pro coming on board to assist with the baseline things, because Cape Town waters can be very cold. And I don't want the kids to be cold. That can be a deterrent to people actually coming back. So just bridging that gap is a very big gap, because comfort is also important when you're exploring new spaces. And I think it's important that we manage the level of new to the whole experience.
Nice. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions going on. I don't want to occupy all your time. Hope people add in questions here and there. But I do have, again, I have so many questions.
Let's chat.
My next question is, I forget exactly what age group of children you mentioned that you serve. So I was wondering why that age group.
So I work with 10 to 15-year-old kids, but they get as old as 17 years old. For me, it's to plant the seed. I believe that the youth is going to be the future presidents, the policymakers, the citizens that are going to create the change that we need. But ultimately, I hope to sow a seed enough that when they do subject choices in grade 10 here in South Africa, there is a hope and a belief that they could belong to marine spaces too, and maybe choose these subjects that are scary and unpopular in hope that they would actually also find space in them one day. So for me, it is the hope that we ultimately see a more diverse representation in marine facing careers as well. So it's, yeah.
Nice. No, I think that's perfect. There are several studies that discuss what age group is most appropriate and getting people or children involved and really honing that in and making them feel like they have a sense of belonging. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you say to kids trying to get into the environmental field? Go ahead.
So interestingly enough, currently I'm in the Seychelles and I'm here invited to come and explore with the youth, unpack the ideas of thought, how we access our conservation spaces, how we think outside the box, how we expand, how we create change for future generations. And so for me, I always say you start where you are, because already the communities here are so inspired to be change agents. They are already doing so much work, be it if it's the eco schools where Christmas trees are all made by recycled materials and all the little Christmas decorations are all made with plastic. And so there's so much inspiration to draw from here already. But I always say you start where you are. What are you worried about in your community? Start there. See what you can do about that. But I also recognize that there is a level of privilege that is required for us to be able to perhaps deeply access, number one, the thought space, but then second, to pursue it forward, because you might need more resources. But again, you could just knock on your friend's door and be like, we've got 30 minutes, let's go clean up, or we've got 30 minutes, let's do what we can. And just, we need to be thinking outside the box in how we want to change these narratives, particularly in the environmental space.
Oh, absolutely. I admit that I have knocked on a friend's door and said, hey, let's go do a cleanup. So
yeah.
I relate. So you also mentioned citizen science efforts. So are you involved in any citizen science efforts currently? Are you, have you had your kids start working on those kind of things? Where are you at with that?
I am currently not a part of any citizen science work, neither are the kids. So what's always interesting for me is it's kind of, the foundation is working based on what is possible at the moment. And I think as more partners come on board and are able to hold space with, maybe we will then expand onto citizen science missions, because again, it is important that the kids learn more about the life that is under there. Of course, I do a basic exploration and a basic introduction to everything that we're going to encounter, the challenges that the ocean is facing. There's a lot that we cover, but we don't actively go into apps like iNaturalist, take a picture, let's submit this. It's kind of always just taking it as we go, but it is definitely a plan that I want to introduce, because again, barriers to entry. What does it mean to empower the community to believe that where they are, they can be the change?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we got a question popped up here. Gonna try to read this. It says, this is from Danielle. I believe in your talk, you mentioned that you or someone else didn't get access to snorkel until 2016. Says, I believe you said age 28. If this is the case, what was the process like to get engaged in diving or ocean activities at this age? Did you feel, excuse me, did you feel at any point that you were behind the curve? Do you have any advice for folks in a similar situation?
Yeah. So yes, I was 28 years old when I first went on my first ever snorkel trip, first ever seeing beneath the surface. And I think there was lots of fear. You know, I often say that no one will ever understand the day I saw the boat leave and we were getting further and further from land. And it's interesting because you need to manage yourself, because your freak out is no one else's freak out. So you're always behind the curve. Yours is always new. And I can't remember what all the questions are or were, but I think for me, it was hard, but it was also just embracing that there's nothing wrong with not knowing. And the lady who was sitting opposite me, who held up the snorkel and said, you breathe in and out through the snorkel, she gifted me something that I don't know if I would be here had that not happened, because it sounds basic, but it is not. And we get afraid to ask things that sound basic or stupid. And I think we need to kind of just get out of that and just kind of figure that we have nothing to lose. In every single moment, in our most truthful state, we have nothing to lose. And who cares if you sound stupid anyway? But definitely always feel like I've been behind the curve, but also I believe that everything happens when it does, as it should. And this fire that I hold is because I feel like we always kind of think back and think we could have done so much more differently. Maybe I'd be a marine biologist, but here I am. And it's in this moment that a fire has spurred inside of my body to create that needed access for everyone else from my community. And I think that's all I can kind of give from that perspective.
Wow, that's powerful. Which begs another question for me is, do you still encounter fear? Like any point where you're in the ocean or about to get in the ocean, and how do you deal with that?
I definitely encounter fear. I think it's so important for me. I have deep respect for the ocean. One, she's a massive body. Two, I don't think there's ever a moment where I think I'm too cool. And sometimes when I haven't dived in a very long time, I actually have like small anxiety, and when I free dive very deep, sometimes I get anxiety, because at the end of the day, some people have been in the ocean since they were 5. And my experience is like just over 5 years old. So I'm still journeying and exploring and becoming more and more comfortable, even though I dive almost every day. So yes, I do have moments of fear, but what I also do is I always pray. I always ask for permission to be in the water. For me, that's important. I ask for permission and I say thank you. And I think as I ask for that permission, it allows me to cleanse my heart, but also become humble to the moment, because I recognize that it is a privilege to be there. And so for you to be able to explore and to continuously be in gratitude, you release the fears that are in your body to be one with the ocean. And I think that's how I work my fear. I hand it to her and I tell her that I am most grateful to be here and only if she'll have me.
Wow. I had chills. This is good. So with that, 2 more questions. What's the deepest you've been freediving? And then also your best experience or most maybe enjoyable experience in the ocean.
My current deepest freedive is 35 meters. I wanna get to 40 by the end of this year, but I don't think I've actually, I feel like I've got it in my body. We're actually talking about it today to say, you know, you always know when you've got it in your body, you just need to just focus. So I'm excited to push past my limits, current limits. And yeah, what was the second question?
I guess most enjoyable or favorite experience in the ocean.
Okay, so I want to give 2 experiences. One, we were freediving in Sudwana Bay and we're diving up and down the line, right? We're freediving and we had a safety on scuba. And so as the safety gets out of the water, she runs out of air. So she gets out the water and into the boat. And now it was whale season. So every time you duck dive in, you would just hear the whales singing away. And you're like, oh, they're so beautiful. They dive with you to the bottom, they come up with you, and you're just like crying. Every time you surface, you start crying. Anyway, so the scuba diver gets out the water. Do the whales not all make their way? I think we had like 2 whales that made their way to us and they just kept blowing through their blowholes, like right next to us. It was insane. It was insane. And the scuba diver was like, oh my God. And I think it's just a reminder that freediving is sacred in that way. And obviously they're reading our bodies, you know, they're reading the contractions, they're reading that we're on breath hold, and they come to kind of explore, see what's happening over here. That was an amazing experience. And probably a second experience would be seeing my first ever whale shark. I think the ocean is important because all the things that we think we know, we could never comprehend what lives in there. And every single dive, I'm always just mind blown. And so seeing this whale shark that's 4 meters long, just be so gentle and playful. And she even stayed, even though we were freaking out and we're like, oh my word, you're so cool. And she stuck around and she let us like kind of drink all of her for like 2 hours. And then we had to go and she just carried on. But that was incredible for me. It was absolutely mind blowing to be yay on a thing that big. And you're just like, yay.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So on the same line, best place you've ever been diving? Which I hate that question because every place has like special parts, but
yeah.
I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Favorite place, best place diving has to be Egypt. Warm waters, but also the most incredible coral life. Beautiful crystal viz. So when you think about like being a diver and you're wanting easy dives and it's warm and it's crystal, like 40-meter visibility, crazy walls of like coral that you get to dive on. It was absolutely amazing. But also my beautiful South Africa, Cape Town, kelp forests are insane. I have not gotten over them and I'm still obsessed. The word is obsessed.
I'm adding both of those to my bucket list because I'm geeking out over here. So we're getting close to time, but I wanted to maybe ask a few more questions and check the chat. Okay. I guess you had a lot of takeaways in your recording just about ocean conservation and doing better for the ocean. And so I kind of wanted to wrap this up with what is your deepest desire for people to take away from this whole experience, this whole your talk, from our Q&A session? what's that one thing that you want to make sure people know?
That humanity is the ultimate genius, that diversity and inclusion and the rebuilding of structures so that people feel safe is the change agent for us to unlock our genius as humanity, as a race. And so every single time when we show up and we speak up and we use our voices for change, we unearth everything that we can become. We build the worlds that we want to live in. And so going back to ocean conservation, we want to save our seas, we want to save our natural world, and that can only happen if we work together. So we need to build that access, create that access to ensure that everybody can rally around to hold space for our natural world. So I'd say, humanity, access, diversity, inclusion, ultimate genius, but also that's just how we save our natural world.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. All right, I think we're getting to time. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And if anyone out there has any questions for any of us, including our fabulous keynote, please follow Zandi on social media. I believe you have 2 Instagrams,
Yes.
at the Black Mermaid _ Foundation, and then at Zandi the Mermaid. All right, perfect. And then you could also follow me if you'd like at Marine Litter Critter on Instagram as well. And make sure you follow Black and Marine Science for more events this week. Up next, we have Building Equity in Marine Science panel, and that's coming up at 4 o'clock, 4 to 5. So make sure you tune in for that. You don't want to miss it.
Thank y'all both so much. This was such a great Q&A. The keynote was awesome. The Q&A was even better. Thanks so much to our YouTube audience for riding with us. Up next, we do have our panel, as Kia mentioned, but also make sure that you tune in on Saturday to the National Aquarium Instagram, because we are going to be doing trivia based off of this keynote. So all of our keynotes, we're going to be picking a question and asking them on the National Aquarium channel. And they will be giving free giveaways on Saturday. So again, we have 5 keynotes this week. So make sure you tune into them all, listen, and then go to to the National Aquarium Instagram for our giveaways. All righty, y'all. Go to the bathroom real quick and come right back for our panel.